Okay, it seems like we are live. So, welcome to this interview. I am Valentina Lattuada for the Feeding the Soul World Summit 2016, and I'm online live with Angaangaq. I have this enormous pleasure and honor to be able to interview you. So, thank you, Angaangaq.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. It took a little while, but now we're here together. I think it's very
Yes.
impressive.
Yes.
One day
This
I
is
will
the
learn
magic
something
of
about
technology.
technology. One day I will learn something about it. But I'm happy to be here now.
Great. This is the second time I meet you. Once, the first one was in person in Milan, where you came to give your wisdom to our audience for the Feeding the Soul festival last year, and now I meet you in this internet, in this web. And where are you? You're not in Greenland, right?
No, I am in Munich actually, in Germany.
Okay.
I've been touring around the continent for quite some time now. Actually, almost 2 months. I've been in Europe.
Great.
Both in Greenland and Denmark and all over Germany actually, from east to west and north to south.
Fantastic. I know you're going to be in Italy soon as well, right? In
Yes,
Verona.
I'm going to be in Verona next week.
Okay. So probably okay. The next week will be before the summit. So our audience now probably lost it, or I can help spread the word for next week in other ways. So with honor, because I had the possibility to experience your presence and your what you have to share. Let's start from the beginning. You are a shaman, right? A shaman.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay. How all this shaman thing started? Can I say that? Like, when did you become a shaman, or were you born a shaman? What? How?
No. I started a long time ago. And I was trained by my grandmother, my father's mother, for the first 12 years of my life. She didn't say I'm going to be a shaman. She just trained me for many things. Listen, then listen more. Only then can you tell a living story. So I had to listen, and listen many hours. And then in 1969, she died in January. Then my mother took over. Then my mother was a student of my grandmother for 47 years. So I have a long training. And 57 years and 10 months later, my family had been asking me to go to a mountain because in our world, if you want to accept to become a shaman, then I am responsible to go to a sacred mountain. And my sacred mountain was not very big mountain, just 1996 meters. But it was a sacred because that's where people go up there to talk. And there I had to make a circle there, where I can walk from east to south to west to north, then east to south to west to north, and just walk in those directions and talk to him, the man who made us. The intention is that I should be telling the creator who I am in my own words aloud. I don't know if you ever done that, but I had never done it. In the beginning, I thought it's going to be very simple and easy. But after many hours of walk, that when I got to the top of the mountain, it was late in the afternoon. When I got there, the walk was much longer than I thought it would be. And but I got up there, and then when I prepared and I started to talk to him, the great one, about me, which I thought was going to be very simple, but only in very, very few hours, I realized I had nothing else to tell. That's when I realized that I have lived almost 58 years with no depth inside me, really shallow life. So that's when I realized that it was really scary that I don't have any depth in me. But then I remembered few things in my life which I didn't want the great one to know what I have done in my life. We call it secrets. I had secrets from him which I didn't want him to know, which I didn't want you to know, I didn't want anybody else to know. So I realized it, that's when I really started to cry. And I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried because it was so scary to tell my secrets. It particularly to me. The, but at the end, when I start telling the things I have done, I don't want you to know, I don't want anybody else to know. It became easier and easier and easier, and I talked between 25 and 27 hours nonstop. I did not drink, I did not eat, I did not stop. I stopped one time because the big wind came and blew me down, and luckily it did not hit my head on the rock because it was pitch black. There were no lights whatsoever, and it is September, the beginning of September, and it was pitch black. And 30 kilometers away, I can see my city. That's the only light I could see, and it was really, really difficult. I got up, and then it started raining, then it started snowing, and it's blowing, and then it was really incredible experience for 25, 27 hours. So other than falling down and other than crying, I just talked. I realized I'm the one. I had to talk about me to me so he can listen
Out loud.
out loud, not in my thought, not in my spirit, but through my mouth, like I'm talking to you now. I had to do that. But that's the tradition I come from. So I did that. But when I finished, my whole energy, my whole body, my whole mentality, my whole spirit, it just changed. And I needed to go down the mountain. And I really tried to lift my legs. I couldn't. I had to literally take my pants and lift my leg forward. I started walking like that, and it took me a long time before my muscles came back and I could actually walk on my own. And it still took me many hours to go back. And then a funny thing happened. At that time, in the capital of Greenland, of Nuuk, they were developing a new area of a city, which is 10 kilometers away from the city. And they had already made roads. And a taxi showed up. One taxi showed up. And then the man stopped the car. He says, "Uncle, come, come, come." So I go to the taxi. I have no idea who he is, but he called me uncle. Well, that's people call me back home, uncle. And said, "Come on in, come on in." That I would never tell anybody. And I looked at him. I don't know who he is. I know his parents and grandparents. And and I asked him, "How did you know that about me?" And he looked at me with beautiful, beautiful eyes, and he said, everybody knows. And it's supposed to be a secret in my family that I am going to a mountain, sacred mountain. I gave him a hug through the car window, and I just touched his face and said, thank you very much. And then he went off. Then I started walking again, and maybe 15 minutes later, another taxi comes. And then the taxi stops and he says, Uncle, is that you? And I said, yes. So I got to him and said, you can come in. I would never tell anybody that I drove you home. And I looked at this beautiful young man. I said, how did you know? What do you know about me? So he said, I knew that you were going to the mountain. But how did you know? Everybody talks about it. So I realized that somehow, somewhere in my world, somebody had told somebody that uncle was going to a sacred mountain. And then I gave him a hug through the window again, and then I said, thank you very much. And I touched him, and then he went off, and I walked home. And when I came home to my family house, I was totally wet inside out. I was really, really heavy because I'm so wet.
Mhm.
And I took off my coat and my boots, and then because the doors were closed, I just said, anybody home? And my next brother, Nogafta, I could hear him saying, I am home. So I opened the door, and there was 17 members of my family in the house
Wow.
waiting for me. And you cannot help it, but me, I just started crying. I was tired, I was exhausted, I was excited, and I was all these emotions. I just cried in front of my family because even the small ones were there to greet me. And my brother put up my medicine on my neck, which is the tail of the whale, of the blue whale bone. And he says, Angaangaq, you are as strong as the tail of the whale. So that was the first medicine he gave me. And then, of course, then we have made coffee, and then, so, and I sit down and I went to the bathroom, washed up and put new dry clothes on, and then sat down and have a cup of coffee. And everyone just acted like normal. The children were playing, and then everybody got a hug and a kiss. And then it was my responsibility to call for a feast. That means that I had to cook, and then I had to prepare everything. So I did. I was exhausted, tired, but excited and happy. So I went for shopping, and then prepared everything. And at night, everybody came back into the house. And again, the children, after the dinner, children played, and then my sister was across from me, like you are on a computer screen across from me. And in front of me, there was this gift. A year and a half earlier, we are 8 of us in my family. My older brother, me, and brothers and sisters, the 8 of us, we had dinner together in Copenhagen, just for dinner, maybe 4 hours together. Then people had to go home because they had to work and they had to travel. I had to travel. So there, my our oldest brother gave me a gift, and he gave me a beautiful gift, soft paper. And I said, I want you to hear what it is, and I want you to smell it. And then he put his hand on me and said, "Don't." And then I realized that I cannot open it because I knew that already that I cannot open it. That gift, I have traveled with it for a year and a half, all over North America, all over Europe. And then in front of me there at the dinner table, that gift was there. And my sister asked me, "Are you going or are you not going to open it?" Now, you had to know that in our tradition, if I give you a gift and you open it, it means that you have accepted the responsibility for whatever you had to do. That the same thing with when I receive a gift and and if I open it, that means I have accepted to be the shaman for my family. But it's a really, really difficult thing. It's very exciting to think that somehow we don't know how, but I will become a shaman. But at the same time, if I open it, my life will never be the same again. So I've been thinking about it as I travel the world. Will I or will I not open a gift? It's like, I don't know, somewhere in the biblical Old or New Testament or biblical history about something about the camels, the needle's eye and the camel. You know, a camel, it's easier for camel to go through, something like that. So we knew that if I go through the eye of the needle, in here, I will enter a new world, which is called shamanic world. And I can never come back to a normal everyday life I will have as long as I live. Because here is a normal life, but in here is a not normal life. It's a different world, which we call the world of Angaangaq shaman. So I knew that. I knew that. We grew up with the story. We know that. So finally, my sister asked me, "Well, are you or are you not going to open?" Then I started to say that I am contemplating. I have the idea that I want. He said, if I should open it. She said, "I don't want to know if you're thinking about it. I want to know, are you going to open it?" So I looked at her and I smiled and I picked it up. When I did that, just mysteriously, my whole family came around and then I unwrapped the paper and my medicine came out. And my family had gotten young artists to develop a gift for a shaman because this is the first time in almost 200 years that a family or my family will receive a shaman gift. So they have asked a young unknown artist my brothers have known for a long time since he was small. He made it. They have ordered the hoof of caribou, and the hoof of caribou in a spiritual language says that you can never sink where you go, where you walk, because caribou does not sink in the snow or water, because the hoof is hollow. So, so, so they had that for me, so I can walk anywhere on earth without sinking. Then it had a gold, which is the wealth of the land. Our land is very, very wealthy. Then it had the only unicorn animal on Earth, which is a narwhal, the long, long tusk, about 2 meters long, that part of the tusk was there. And that's the wisdom of the ocean, because the narwhal will go down to the bottom of the ocean and dig the soil and find the oysters. And when the oysters come up, she will bite it and break the shell. And of course, most of the oysters will have a pearl inside. And those pearls will surface to the top of the ocean. And when the sun shines on the ocean, you can see the glitter like silver. That's because the wisdom of the ocean. So that's why the narwhal tusk is a sacred animal, because she brings the wisdom of the ocean. And then on top of that was a diamond, which is the beauty of the land. So that is the first shaman gift given in my family for almost 200 years.
Amazing.
So I received it, and then I put it on, and that made me a shaman.
So you you feel deeply this responsibility of being a shaman, the shaman of in your family, in your community, but as well you travel a lot, and so it's a wider responsibility. It's a wider, um, can I say, mission
Yeah.
or?
Let me say it this way. You know, I became I accepted the responsibility to carry on that tradition in our family, which the churches stopped, because the churches didn't want shamans. They want us to follow the Christianity. But the family want to go back to that tradition because
Mhm.
our family are known to be shamans. So when I did that, I took on and accepted the gift. I accepted to be a shaman there for the family. But as you said, I travel a lot and very quickly, because the indigenous world is really small. Even the
Yes.
globe, how big it is, yeah, very quickly the native people in North America knew about it. South America, they knew about it. In Africa, in Australasia, in Asia, in the Siberia,
Mhm.
in the Sami land, everybody just like that.
Yes.
They knew that Angaangaq has accepted to be a shaman. So very quickly it changed, that then they invite me to be the shaman for them. Many, many tribes in South America, Caribbean, Pan America, North America have asked me to be their shaman. And then people of Greenland all over have asked me to be their shaman. And then, of course, many other native tribes, they have asked me to be a shaman. So now I've been doing that yeah, for a long time now.
Long time. And
So, so
I'm
it's really, it's very interesting that how quickly it was known. But my world is big because I travel a lot. But I don't do it to show me, oh, look at me, I'm the one that I just travel because that's my job. Because I don't know if you knew that, but I am a runner for the elders. My mission is
yes.
to carry the message of the elders to the world. So because
Hmm.
they know me like that, so very quickly everybody began to invite me to be their shaman. So I have accepted. It's really challenge, very difficult, but incredibly rewarding. I'm so happy that I was able to have the courage and capacity to accept that, and then now travel with it all over the world. So, am I a good shaman? I have no idea, but I love my work. I love my work. I think it's the most incredible thing I could have done in my life.
So, um, being a shaman nowadays,
Mhm.
in the Western culture, in the contemporary culture, and being the having this immense ancient wisdom, the wisdom of the ice, of the ocean, of
Mhm.
the different ages, and what does what does it mean? What does it mean to be a shaman today?
Be the one where, you know, when I listened to my grandmother, she was, t- 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 oh, no, somebody in the hotel. The no, in my grandmother explained this that when we were growing up, that a shaman's responsibility is to bring back the ceremony because the world, as we know it, has lost the ceremony. You
Yes,
know,
this is a very important point.
we have stopped celebrating each other.
Hmm.
We don't celebrate our life. But when you think about it, your life is worth celebrating
Celebrating
with a
all the
ceremony
time.
every day.
Yeah,
You know that when you go to Roma, nobody says good morning. It's like you don't exist. Everyone is busy with in their own world, and they don't acknowledge you. They don't recognize you. They don't see you. We have stopped seeing each other, so we have lost that beautiful ceremony of saying hello. How
even
are
to ourselves.
Yeah, how are you? What's your name? Where are you from? What are you doing? We don't do that anymore. If you go to the train station in Roma, everyone is busy having espresso and croissant.
Yeah.
That's all they do. They don't see each other. They don't recognize you, and they don't ask you. So we have lost that basic ceremony of saying hello, and that goes on all over the world now.
Hmm.
And in Europa, I have noticed that very few celebrate their own birthday. It's like they're no longer important,
Yeah.
and they don't want to be important. My grandmother says,
There,
if I don't love myself first, I cannot love you if I don't have strength. But if I love myself first, then I have the strength to love you.
yeah. And this
And
about the birthday is it's something connected with something else that I would like to ask you
yeah,
about time.
mhm,
And sometimes people they can be annoyed by their birthday
mhm,
because it's a sign of time passing
mhm,
and growing old. And this is something that in our culture, in contemporary culture, in Western
mhm.
culture, is not something actually very, very nice. It's not something good to happen to you to grow old. And I have the feeling actually that growing old in your culture or in a culture of celebrations,
Yeah,
growing old is something not just fine, but something very important, right?
exactly, exactly. You know, uh, our father, he he tells us so often that everybody will become old. Few will ever become elders. I think it's so interesting that you and I we will become old, but few of us will ever become elders. And and it's so interesting. Many years ago, I was in my early 40s. It's almost 30 years ago. There in southern Ontario, in the land of the Ojibwe people, the Indian tribe of the Ojibwe, They called me into the home, and I went into the house. There were three grandmothers, one grandfather, and many older children and then the young grandchildren in the house. They had prepared a gift and beautifully packaged. And they says, Uncle, we like you to be our elder. I knew up here and in here immediately what it means. But I touched my hair and said, see, I have no gray hair. I have no gray hair. But I also knew that I could not laugh at it. So I smelt it and I said, what an honor to receive a gift. But I will come back to you. I took the gift, but I did not open. Then I flew home to Greenland and I sat down with my mother and I showed her my gift and she took it and then she smelled it around and then I asked her, what should I do? And she looked at me and she says, my son, you're going to have to learn to grow up to it and become worthy of being an elder. And I asked her, of course, how? And she looked at me just really beautifully and she just said, you're just going to have to learn to grow up to it and become worthy of being an elder. And I was sick and she walked away. So that's the instruction I have received to become an elder. And that's how it is. If you open the gift, you accept it. But if you're not prepared to be worthy, it's better that you don't open the gift. Because if it, I mean, there's so many things we could do differently, but we all had to learn to grow up to it and become worthy of that responsibility. Just like the shaman's world, the, my everyday life has never been the same of being having the title of a shaman. My looks have not changed. I have become older. I have gray hairs now, but then other than that, my everyday life as I knew it disappeared, and now I had to really every day be aware that I have a responsibility. I I cannot I cannot take a holiday and go to the beach because
Unless it's not for work.
I carry my title everywhere. I cannot hang it up in the closet and go on holidays.
Hmm.
I had to be the one 24 hours a day for the
Yes.
rest of my life. That's a shaman.
Can I ask you something about we just talked about ancient wisdom and elders, and the other way around. I think that something else that we lost is the importance of celebrating youth and childhood inside ourselves and in our kids as well. It's like I feel sometimes we are lost in between. I have to grow, I have to grow, I have to grow, you have to grow, baby, you have to grow, we have to grow, and oh, we grew old, we grew old. You know,
Mhm.
there's not there is something there we missed of being in the moment and celebrating all the stages of life that
Mhm.
I would like to ask you about, and the importance of maybe learning from every stage and celebrating every stage.
Mhm.
uh, how is your view about that?
It had to do with that celebration with a ceremony. My grandmother tells us that life is a ceremony in itself, worthy celebrating with a ceremony. That means that every day you and I, we should be celebrating our life and the life around us. Now, I'm a grandfather. I had to celebrate my grandchildren, and they have to learn to celebrate their life. That goes in your family as well. Because remember, we have lost that world, but now we had to reinstate it. Because that's the responsibility of the shaman to bring back the ceremony so you can become aware, not up here, but in here,
Mm-hmm.
that you need to celebrate your life. And once you start celebrating, the life around you will really change because then you can see the children wanting more. They want to celebrate. My wife and I, we were just in the family visit, and the kids had just had small kittens, little cats, had been born in their farm, and then they wanted to celebrate giving names to the cats. Two small girls. They were so excited, and and I realized that it's really worth celebrating for them that Uncle gives these animals names,
Mm-hmm.
and they were so thrilled. They were so happy that Uncle was able to give names to these cats.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, it was a big thing. And I realized they are no different than your family and the family of your friends
Mm-hmm.
because these children need celebration of a ceremony. On that day, their cats got names. And that's so interesting. But that's how it goes. The more you do your ceremony, it will be born somewhere else in your children. Can you imagine
Yeah.
that your children gives birth to a new ceremony which they will bring to school?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how simple thing as recreating the ceremony of celebrating life would be expanding like a ripple effect on the ocean.
How a
And
small thing, a little thing can have a great impact.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that's how it goes. So that's the responsibility of the shaman. Of course, then of course, beside that, my life has really really changed because of course there were many people who laughed and then who put down all the bullshit and stuff like that. And some of these Christians said, "Oh, this is a devil worshipper," and the words are really sharp.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
then I had to just to let them go and carry on. And now, after so many years, and now we have a social media every day. Sometimes hundreds of letters comes in asking for help and guidance. It is so interesting that ancient tradition is now alive at the root of the people, and now they honoring it and respecting it and asking for guidance. Not because of me, but because they have a shaman they can turn to. If they haven't had that for 200 years.
Now we have, hopefully, we have a wide audience thanks to internet
The
and
what?
to our interview right now.
Okay.
If not today, maybe next days or next months or years, I don't know. Now we keep this interview, no?
Mhm.
So, which message, which inspiration you can give us directly in a world where people search not just for guidance, that is something very important and great, and it's not everybody it's ready to have a guidance, but we all look for happiness, even
Yes.
when we don't accept that, even when we find happiness something for shallow people.
Mhm.
happiness is something you see in the movies. It's not something that you can have. But we all want to be happy because we are humans. I
Yeah,
think. I think.
yeah.
So, what can you say? How can you inspire us to give the first to end this interview with something to bring home
Yeah,
and
you
in
know,
our path through this life towards
mhm.
happiness?
I'm so glad you asked that question because it is so important but to be happy. But also remember, life is like a waves of the ocean. For most of us, because we live in this world, we like huge mountains, and our life goes up and down like a yo-yo. When it's supposed to be like the simple ocean waves, we go up and up to be happy. The old people they say there's only two kinds of tears: the tears of sadness and the tears of joy. One cannot come without the other. That means in your life you will have the joy and be happy, but you will also have sadness and have tears of sadness.
Mhm.
But it will come back with the tears of joy. Of course, in the tears of sadness, there are many, many, many levels, as there are that many, many levels in the tears of joy. So, but most of us live it like a yo-yo, up and down, uncontrollable, difficult to control, difficult to comprehend why it's so difficult. My grandmother would tell you that the great one will never test you beyond your capacity, but you will test yourself beyond your capacity. So stop testing yourself. Accept what is and move and enjoy your life. Never laugh at somebody. Find someone to laugh with. Don't dwell on things which are not pleasant in your life, but become that happy and joyful being you deserve to be. So that's how it goes. And never fall in love. Because if you fall in love, you get hurt. Become in love, and love will never ever hurt you. So those are the simple guidances you can use for you, for your friends, for your father, for your mother,
My
and
child.
and then guide them, assist them to understand that life is really beautiful, but it comes with all the emotions. You
Mhm.
know, you have you heard about Krishna? He brought us the concept of the chakras, the source of energies we have. And fascinatingly enough, the heart chakra is the home of anger, fear, frustration, and jealousy.
What's the first? Sorry.
Anger,
Okay.
fear,
Okay.
frustration, and jealousy. You and I and anybody else on this earth can never live without four energies,
Hmm.
but it's how we use them
Yeah.
which will make a difference.
How we deal with them as
Yeah,
well, right?
because that's what will make the difference. And that the same thing with tears of sadness and tears of joy. It's how we use them what will make the difference. It like with love, we all look for love, but we all fall in love rather than becoming in love. So it's really, really simple, but we make it so complex because we're human beings.
Yes.
So stop making things complex. Don't think about the unpleasant things. Think about these beautiful things you have inside yourself, which you can give your children. They can become strong from the very beginning in their life. without having gone through what you have gone through since you were a child. You
And
know,
listen, right?
yes,
You began the interview talking about listening, listening, and listening.
yes,
So we can close the circle in listening,
yeah,
right?
yep, absolutely.
Great. Well, this is an honor, really a pleasure, a great inspiration, and I hope this is the beginning of how you call it, the not the big impact, the when you throw a little stone in the water and then the circles creates
Yeah, the ripples will come
and
around.
reach, yeah, exactly, and
Yeah,
reach different lands, we can say.
yeah.
So thank you so much. This
And
was an interview for the Feeding the Soul World Summit, and you
okay,
fed our soul
okay.
gratefully today.
And next time you see me, please invite me for Italian coffee.
Okay,
Okay.
for sure. Thank you so much, Angaangaq.
Yes.
See you soon, hopefully. And have fun in Munich, in Verona, and all the places where you're going next.
Oh, grazie, mille
Goodbye.
grazie. Bye bye.
Closing. Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.